Hello, my those Ram Basically, we are discussing on the topic that is city creation. City creation, basically, we are discussing on the topic that is future creation. Future creation, basically, we are discussing on the topic that is of Mumbai city. Mumbai city. Now, basically, we will discuss one more city, basically, that is Bangalore city. One of the person told that basically. Do you know basically? Lots of people says that basically the how basically the sand basically small sand basically one sand basically set of sands basically can handle the buildings means earth planet basically is what actually one of the person asked the question that is basically just simple sand basically but that basically is taking the entire world basically taking the world means in the land basically big buildings are basically standing basically how that is standing basically one of the person basically asked the question basically, how that is standing basically then he told that basically how basically it might be standing here basically that basically is not standing basically like that basically it's not standing like that basically there are lots of experiments basically are ongoing so few people say that basically the Bangalore is that city basically reason behind Bangalore basically is inside the Karnataka basically. So Karnataka basically contains the Sanskrit language basically, and there basically the Tamil language also basically contains. So the land basically which is created basically, and basically the Earth planet is also going to create basically few lands basically in the universe basically on the base of Earth planet. So base basically first you have to clear basically. That is basically the Sanskrit group and Tamil group basically are doing. That is the Karnataka group. That is the Bangalore basically. So in Bangalore basically the TCS group is there. In so lots of people say that basically sand experiment basically how you can do here basically. For that basically the cool place is required. So Bangalore basically is the coolest place basically. So Bangalore is the one of the coolest place basically. Why? Because there this type of experiment basically are ongoing. They might be doing how basically they might be doing the experiment. That also basically is the question basically. How they might be doing the experiment basically. One of the person told that basically the Bangalore land is the most softest land basically. Softest basically you can say soft land basically in the world basically if you dig that sand basically it will just basically within 1 2 hour basically you can dig up to many kilometers basically not kilometers basically few meters basically reason the land basically is very smooth basically reason there always experiment goes on basically of the land basically so you can just imagine basically and Bangalore basically never gets the earthquake also that is the main thing basically here they are doing the experiment but they basically never felt the earthquake also basically so that is the very great experiment basically one of the person told that basically because if you are doing any experiment basically sometime basically in Mumbai basically the sea water basically comes outside the gateway of India basically that basically is the experiment basically which is ongoing basically and that is the side effect of the experiment basically of the sea water basically but here basically in Bangalore never basically the earthquake happens reason they are basically doing the perfect experiment basically. There basically the ISRO groups are there they are connected with the NASA group basically and NASA group basically are connected with the USA basically and USA basically are basically mostly controlled by the software companies and lots of big software companies are basically in Bangalore city basically so you can just imagine basically the chaining basically system basically lots of people say that yeah So one of the person told that basically land basically is created and handled and maintained by the digital world basically. But when the digital world was not there basically, that time basically how the land was basically handling, because they are basically the group basically who are basically will be responsible for the languages, and languages are equal to, you can say, the planets. Base of the language creation basically is the planets. So one of the person told that that is also one of the very dangerous city basically, you can say. That is also very dangerous city, because land equal to sand basically, and they are basically handling each and every single sand basically. Lots of people say that basically यार बेंगलोर का क्लाइमेट तो देखने जैसा है, but see the risk also basically they are having the life. So entire world basically is doing the set of experimental living. So one of the person told that Sunil, your life basically you are not getting one job basically. It's not a big issue basically. See the issue of the Bangalore city basically. See the issue of Bangalore city basically. It's a sand basically. They are basically within the sand basically, you can say. The entire buildings are basically standing within the sand basically, you can say. That's why basically in Bangalore city big buildings basically are not prepared basically. Why? Because their permission basically are not given. But Mumbai city basically that permission is there basically. Why? Because there basically the land experiment is not ongoing. That basically the experiment is only of seawater basically. That is 1 lakh kilometer area basically. So you can just imagine basically each and every city basically is not having a peaceful life basically. The people basically who are the government group basically, they basically can understand this video basically what actually I want to say. Few people that are the businessmen basically, they can experiment, they basically can understand basically what actually I want to say. The reason businessmen basically are having this data basically, that is one missile costing 1,000 crore rupees. Like same way basically the sand is also basically might be handling by the set of satellite groups and basically set of nuclear power company basically. Set of nuclear power company basically. So you can just imagine basically one of the satellite person told that your problem basically is nothing basically in front of the Bangalore city basically. Because there basically they are staying in just sand basically, you can say. Within sand basically they are having their lifestyle. So it's a huge basically problem basically. And see the Mumbai city basically how basically they are having their lifestyle basically. 1 lakh kilometer, then basically the 1 lakh missiles basically. 1 lakh missile basically cost, one missile cost 1,000 crore dollar basically. Sorry, not dollar basically, rupees. So it's a huge basically risk basically. Wherever in Earth planet basically itself a risky place basically. But lots of experiment are basically already done basically. So due to that basically people basically is having their normal lifestyle basically. Otherwise basically Mumbai will never have their normal lifestyle if they might not have doing the experiment of Italian city basically. If they are basically not doing the experiment of this 1 lakh kilometer water basically, then Mumbai basically will never have their normal life basically. I am telling you basically. If Italy city is not helping Mumbai city basically, then Mumbai will be no, not a single person basically will stay in Mumbai basically. If Italy city basically is not doing the experiment, this city basically can be any city basically. Here basically I am just taking the example of Italy city basically. It can be any city. It can be South Africa also. It can be Europe also basically. It can be USA also basically. It can be any city basically. Here basically I have just taken the example of Italy. Reason, Italy basically is surrounded with sea water.